Welcome to Speak of the Devils, the premier podcast for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV.
And I'm Joe Healy with DevilsDigest.com.
Joe, we made it. Football is back. The Devils open up spring ball this week.
It was a really short, I don't think we necessarily call this the off season. Do we call that? You know, from early January, the longest ASU football has been playing in better part of 30 years. But yeah, it seems like it's been a little bit since they turned that page of the book of Sun Devil football from 2024/2025 to the 2025 season. Spring ball is coming up. It's starting to feel a little bit like spring. I was in Flagstaff, Arizona this weekend playing in the snow, having snowball fights, making snowmen. So it's an interesting time to be in the state of Arizona, but the footballs will be flying before too long. We'll be talking about that 2025 season where the expectations will be very high for Sun Devil football. So Sun Devil fans, get ready for that because that's going to be the case. We know how that tends to work out in the minds of a lot of Sun Devil fans, but folks are going to be real eager to get things started, and it all begins with spring football.
All right, so we will be diving in and previewing spring football, all the position battles, the players, the names that you need to know as the Devils hit the field starting on Tuesday and getting ready, culminating, of course, in the Fan Fest, which we don't call it a spring game. It seems to be the hot trend.
That is getting phased out, and I kind of do understand it too. The purist and the traditionalist in me may not love it, but the modern era of things makes me kind of understand it.
All right, so we're going to be talking to ASU OC Marcus Arroyo, get his thoughts on some of the key storylines going on the offensive side of the ball, as well as we'll be talking to 4 Sun Devils, a couple of returners, a couple of newcomers. You'll get to know a little later on, and then later in the show, we'll be talking to Hod Rabino, appearance number 106. Of course, a lot of going on with Bobby Hurley, his future with the Sun Devil basketball program. But before we dive into all that, Joe, let's run through some news. It's been a little while since we had a full show. Some schedule tweaks for the football schedule, as kind of expected. The U of A game is, it was initially a Friday or Saturday. It's Friday, November 28th. So I know there's a lot of folks that like that.
Yeah, and either you like it or you probably shouldn't dislike it. A lot of us, from Brad and my generation and those before us, knew this game to be played on the day after Thanksgiving, typically a day game. So it has traditionally been a Friday game. And when you're dealing with a holiday weekend where a lot of folks have, Thursday through Sunday off or might take it off, a Friday game in that circumstance is not quite the same as a Friday game in other circumstances because it all feels like a weekend to me.
And speaking of another Friday game under different circumstances, ASU's game against TCU, where they're hosting the Horned Frogs, that did get moved to a Friday. That'll now be on September 26th. So the dream of having all non-U of A games on a Saturday has died, but not too bad.
So is this what we think is the final version? I mean, I guess anything can happen. Yeah. Are we like putting this in stone? Or are we using a little bit of pencil with this? Because if this is the final product, that's not that bad. If you don't have any Thursday games, because I think that to me, there's a real big difference between a Thursday and a Friday night game. I know folks still have to work and maybe the pregame stuff isn't quite as long or as fun as it would be on a Saturday, but at least you can rage a little harder into the evening if you don't have to work on a Saturday. So again, I don't think you're going to make it through a full season with only Saturday games. And in my opinion, that Friday Territorial Cup game is like an asterisk. It's still kind of a weekend. So this is not bad and not a bad outcome as far as I'm concerned.
And speaking of not bad outcomes, ASU hockey continues their strong season. They took care of business against Minnesota Duluth in the NCHC quarterfinals, winning both games 1 and 2 to advance to the semis in St. Paul, where they will be facing off against Denver, an old adversary, the defending national champs. But ASU so far this year has handled them pretty well.
Yeah, that's something that, I'm a bit of a hockey outsider. I love what's going on with Sun Devil hockey. Think the world of Greg Powers and what he's done and just the incredible meteoric rise of this program in such a small bit of time, and to really put together a rivalry. I've been to some of those games against Denver, and that's like a gritty atmosphere, almost has like a rivalry type of atmosphere to it. And ASU just having an incredible season and looking to author a run into the NCAA tournament. And it feels like they're, a couple steps away, but not too terribly far away. And they, could potentially claim a conference championship in their first year in a conference. My goodness, to do that again for Sun Devil Athletics would be such a huge, huge boost. So all support toward that team, looking for them to continue this incredible run they're on and just take on that same mentality as Kenny Dillingham and the football team, kind of like a why not us type of situation there.
A quick look at the Diamond Sports. Softball is actually moving up in the rankings. First time in a little bit, I believe. They're number 23 in the newest D1 softball poll, while baseball took 2 or 3 over TCU. There was one game, 26-9. Okay, maybe ASU missed a couple of 2-point conversion opportunities there, but really handled the Horned Frogs in a Saturday game, taking on USC as we record this right now, and they're hosting Kansas this weekend.
Yeah, that TCU game, that Saturday game, it was 20-0 in the 4th inning, and it was like, I think, 10-0 in like the second. It was unbelievable. You know, that's a TCU team that was ranked by many folks in the preseason, that beat ASU last year in Arlington, Texas, Globe Life Field, the home of the, at the time, World Series champion Texas Rangers. That kind of, you know, created a difficult start to the season as ASU played some very tough non-conference games last year. So to take 2 out of 3 on the road in Fort Worth, in Big 12 play, that's a huge boost. And then ASU this weekend faces a Kansas team that is pretty good. This is a skill. A lot of folks think Kansas, you might not think baseball, but obviously number one is basketball. I know they've had some good runs lately in football, but they've got some talent baseball wise. So the Big 12 is a competitive conference. You may not have those top end teams, but there are a lot of difficult outs. So get out to Muni this weekend, see if the Devils can get some momentum and build off that series win last week in Fort Worth.
All right, so before we dive into football, let's catch up on all things basketball. On the women's front, the much speculated move has been made. Natasha Adair was let go as the women's head basketball coach. As of this recording, the ASU's search is ongoing. Awful lot of smoke, though, Joe, that GCU head coach Molly Miller will be ASU's #1 target. I believe the Lopes are now running a 30-plus game win streak. They won the WAC. They're making their first ever appearance in the women's NCAA tournament, so be a pretty good choice.
Yeah, that seems to be the one and only real name that's being rumored out there. You know, I have to admit, it's not. I don't have a very deep finger on the pulse of collegiate women's basketball to know all the ins and outs of the coaching search here, but that certainly is a name that's being thrown out there. Now then, Miller is also being rumored for the Arkansas opening. I believe Missouri had an opening and filled that early this week. I believe that's a part of the country that she's from. So, you know, a lot of pieces moving there, but man, that would be a huge get for Arizona State. And one of those ones that is just kind of like that logical fit. Okay, there is this highly capable, accomplished coach who is just, the star is rising. And oh, by the way, she happens to be coaching, you know, just a little bit down the road in Phoenix. So it's like a 1 + 2 = 3 kind of situation. We will see if Graham Rossini and, you know, Sun Devil Athletics can make that move, if that is the move that they look to make. It's difficult to outbid the SEC in any sport. So that's something that again has to be taken into consideration. But if it is a hire that ASU can make, man, would that be a home run?
All right, so switching to the men's side, and again, we will be talking to Hod Rabino, DevilsDigest.com, a little bit later on in the show to get far greater detail into this. But Bobby Hurley, he's coming back. There will be an 11th season of the Hurley era in Tempe. And also, even though ASU's regular season schedule and the Big 12 tournament stay was not too extensive, their season is not quite done yet, as they're going to be participating in the College Basketball Crown Tournament. This is a new kind of NIL event, collab between Fox and AEG. There's some auto bids from some of the power conferences. Seems like a lot of teams, though, Joe, have kind of opted out of this. And kind of the interesting thing here is ASU's game in the first round of the 16-team tournament will be against Nebraska on March 31st. That is 1 week after the initial transfer portal window open. So we'll dive into that more with Hope. But that's interesting that, you know, this long season that has been full of some ups, mostly downs for the Devils, is still ongoing.
Yeah, that tournament will be played in Las Vegas. The 16-team field. Half of the field is from, you know, the current Big 12 or the former Pac-12. You got schools like Washington State, USC, Oregon State in there as well, along with Cincinnati, UCF, Colorado, of course, ASU, Utah. So a lot of familiar teams, familiar faces from the last year or so. So we will see how that goes for ASU. We'll see if it is the roster that had been playing the games, you know, leading up into March, or if there are any pieces that are gone at that time. As you mentioned, the transfer portal opens. It won't close for a bit of time after that. But if there are players that are looking to make a quick exit from the program, we will see how that unfolds. And as you mentioned, we'll get a lot more information on that whole landscape from Hod Rabino here shortly later in the show.
All right, so now let's turn our attention to the gridiron. And as we start off this spring ball preview, here's a conversation we had recently with ASU offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo. So when you look at that running back group, obviously Scott's a huge loss, but you have a number of returning guys coming into that room. You had Kanye to that mix. What are some of the things you want to see out of that stable of backs over the course of spring practice?
You know, I think talked about this a lot, and it's no. I've made it really evident to them that there's not going to be there's no elephant in the room. It's not like, hey, oh no, it's going to be well, we can't do this again. We recruited you guys to come in and do a job in the offense. Here's the things that we did last year at the running back position that are asked of us in the standards in the offense. And here's what we think you guys can bring to them. Here's the roles you each play. Here's what we believe in. Here's the body blow type of mentality, the toughness of running the football. Here's the toughness of playing of the back. And then here's the things that scat plays. And these are the things that are hard to replace. These are the things where we got to figure out whether one of you guys have them or we have to find those around our offense and share the accountability to carry that flag. When you take those out of it, the other pieces have to fall in line regardless. You've got to be able to run the football, got to be able to catch the ball in the backfield in the offense, you've got to be able to be responsible and effective in the screen game, you've got to be good in pass protection. And so that's really the recruiting and standard of the position. Those are the intangibles of the position. All those guys we've got in that room understand that. It's very clear. More than anything, Coach Iguana does a fantastic job. Each of those guys also have to be themselves. You can't try to go, none of those guys are going to try to go out there and wear number 4 and go and put a different name on their back. It's be yourself, know your role, find your way, find your own path. And then that way, that'll allow me and us as a staff to be able to say, here's what some things we can do with you. Here's how we find that explosiveness and that production back. And that's an awesome challenge. That's what I love that. I love the piece of ripping the whole thing down and building it back up.
So this time last year, Sam's heading into a spring ball quarterback battle. This time he's now, getting a lot of accolades, one of the top returning quarterbacks in the nation. How have you seen him kind of handle success and some of the things that you've done this offseason to kind of prepare him now that, he's coming in as the guy, and also the weight of these expectations that's on him?
Yeah, I mean, Sam's really mature. I've made it very clear to him in the offense about how the light changes right now, how the targets change, how the distractions can increase, and what that can do if we take your off the road. But I think we've got a mature group who understands that there's so much room for growth. Sam understands that in year 1 of the quarterback, the game's going to slow down now. Been fortunate to have quite a few guys who've had a lot of experience in that position and have gone on to play. So I use that to my advantage and say, we've got a long ways to go. Here's some things we're going to have to do to get to where you want to go. Here's the next step. Defensive recognition, footwork, mechanics, coverage ID, timing, rhythm. All those things are all things we're not near where we want to be at. And I think that's exciting because those are opportunities for growth. And we'll do some things that are going to be challenging to him. I got to find a few things that I think, can really put him in position to maybe fail and get back to having some fun and growing. And he loves that. He's an alpha. I have no doubts in my mind he's up for every challenge we're going to give him. And I think his humility and his character are going to prove that all those accolades are just part of the deal. And we got to be able to starve our distractions, ignore the noise.
How important was it to, what does it say about the, this program and the culture that Jeff wanted to come back for another year?
Who? I'm sorry.
Jeff Sims?
I mean, I said it when I first got here. I said there's Kenny and has done a fantastic job with this culture of providing an opportunity where guys can come in and be themselves, learn, have humility, have fun, work their ass off. Excuse me. Find a way to grow in their own way, and Jeff has been fantastic. I was humbled and excited and fired up that he wanted to come back because I think an opportunity to work with him again is just going to give him more and more opportunities in the future if he wants to continue to proceed potentially. And I think it's going to make us better. Selfishly, I think having Jeff around as a human and as a player gives us an advantage in any role. He's just got a personality about him, a workman-like temperament. He loves football. He's a team guy. I think the value he adds is incredible. So I'm humbled and fired up. It says a lot about our locker room.
And the last one for you is obviously wide receiver. You have been one of the best in the nation coming back. Then a lot of new faces and also some younger guys and some guys that are looking to make a step up that are coming back. What would make a successful spring for you from the wide receivers perspective?
We do. I'm fired up about this room because we got a chance to. Me and Hines both got here last year and kind of drinking through a fire hose and meeting people and trying to figure out who we got and having some guys leave and transfer and figured out on the fly throughout the course of the season, and then knowing what I kind of saw in JT and being able to use him in every facet we could. For JT in year 2 is similar to Sam, to see the game slow down, to see how he's going to be able to recognize some things a little bit, be able to detail his game, the specifics of route running, specifics of coverage ID, all the little stuff that's going to really just take his game to the next level. And then add these young guys that we had or that we brought in, some with experience, and to be able to infuse him with some more infuse that group with some more guys that can really go, and not to say that the guys we lost couldn't go. It's just we're in year 2, the standards went up, we recruited to go bigger and better because that's what we got to do. And iron sharpens iron. We brought in a bunch of guys who were going to compete for some spots, and between the Mosses, the Nobles, Hamilton's, having Malik back for a full season now and not having a choppy beginning and a little end. I mean, that room is going to be powerful, and I'm excited to see the effectiveness these guys have.
All right, before we break down this football roster, before things get kicked off for spring football, one last little news item for you. Sun Devil Wrestling will be headed to the NCAA tournament this weekend, sending 3 wrestlers. Richie Figueroa, of course, the defending national champion at 125 pounds. Nico Ruiz getting his first bit of NCAA action at 165. And of course, Colton Schultz, the big guy at the heavyweight. He's going to be ending his collegiate career there at the NCAA tournament, looking for that elusive NCAA championship of his own. So we will see how ASU fares there at NCAA. As of course, the Sun Devils have finished in the top 7 nationally each the last 4 years, one of only a small handful of programs across the country to do that. So all the best to those 3 Sun Devil wrestlers looking back to bring some gold back to the maroon and gold. Now, moving along from that, Brad, football's back. It's about to get started. That 2024 season, that magical year that was, officially in the rear view. We'll remember it forever, but now is time to put in the work to build that next chapter of Sun Devil football.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the returning players are just very keyed in and don't want to even really talk about, what happened in that magical ride a season ago. They are locked in, and I think taking the example of, Kenny Dillingham and staff looking ahead to 2025, and it all starts this spring. 15 practices culminating in April 25th Fan Fest, and this is going to be a little bit different of a tenor than last spring. Obviously, most of the team comes back. I mean, last year there's so many kind of open jobs, and especially the quarterback battles front and center. This one's going to be a little bit different. And Kenny a couple weeks ago said that this one's going to be perhaps at least for the returning guys, a little bit lighter in nature. He wants to see a lot of those younger guys, a lot of those newcomers that are going to be making the jobs, because guys like Xavier Alford and Sam Levitt, you kind of know what you have there, and the Jordan Tysons of the world. So of course they'll get work, but this is a prime opportunity for a lot of players to make their mark. And we'll first now run over the offensive side of the ball, where I think there's going to be a lot more intrigue and a lot of different aspects to cover. Probably not a quarterback, though. Kind of a polar opposite than last year with the 3-way quarterback battle. Sam Levitt's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. We know that. So really, it's just going to be, how's he going to deal with kind of the weight of expectations coming in as the unquestioned QB1. And I think one of the most underrated moves of the entire season is Jeff Sims, coming back as the veteran experience behind Levitt. So if they need that backup, they have a guy who knows what to do.
Man, just to think of the how significantly different. Of course, everything is, but like the quarterback position is kind of a microcosm of it all. And the stability and the excitement for the future at the quarterback position, and how drastically different that is from the 2 seasons that preceded Levitt's arrival to ASU, or even the spring of last year, where there was a lot of big talk, but you still didn't know what you had. And throughout the spring, you had Jaden Rashad to transfer out, and a lot of folks were thinking, there goes the future of the quarterback position for ASU. Little did they know what would transpire as the rest of the 2024 calendar year and into the first day of 2025 would work out for Sam Levitt and Sun Devil football. So yeah, you've got a great pecking order there with Levitt at the top of the depth chart. To have Jeff Sims as your quarterback too, I think is just a incredible option for ASU to have. I think there are a lot of teams that would love to have an experienced starting quarterback as their backup, and that shows the buy-in that these players have to Kenny Dillingham and Sun Devil football, that you got a guy like Sims, who again has started at 2 different schools and technically at ASU as well for a game, but he's staying put in Tempe. Now, then obviously a lot of things can happen at the quarterback position. You could always have a team that maybe suffers an injury or needs a starting quarterback who might be able to go to Sims and say, hey, you will be our guy from day one. That could still happen, but it hasn't. Until it does, or if it does, then it hasn't happened. So that pecking order with Levitt and Sims, and then you've got some, red shirt and true freshmen behind him, battling for quarterback number 3, with Trenton Bourguet moving on to a coaching role with the running backs now. That's something that you can be, very happy with, because obviously the desired intention is for Sam Levitt to be healthy for every single game of this upcoming season and to grow upon what he did. And so we'll see how that transpires. That's going to be at the forefront of a lot of people's mind. Will he have the proverbial sophomore slump, or will this just be a trajectory that climbs even higher for Levitt? As you mentioned, he is going to be included in a lot of those, all of those lists as far as top quarterbacks in the nation. And he'll probably be number 1 on a handful of them. He'll probably have a lot of Heisman preseason hype. So like I kind of said in the opening, Sentinel fans, get ready for high expectations, because you're probably going to hear it this year, unlike you have in the better part of 30 years.
Yeah, and that quarterback 3 battle is going to kind of be sneaky important, because you never know. Like maybe a team out there does throw a bag at Sims of an injury, but that quarterback 3 became a little bit more interesting on kind of a sad note when Cam Dyer, the incoming freshman, the New Mexico Gatorade Player of the Year, put it together a video game type of season. He unfortunately suffered an ACL injury, so that leaves the kind of quarterback 3 battle to Navi Bruzan, who's the local product out of Liberty, who's a redshirt freshman, and Butter Tollefson, who actually graduated and is a member of the class, but joined the team, is actually with them and practicing near the end of the year during ASU's postseason run. So we'll see exactly how that that workload is divvied up, but again, kind of like night and day from last year. You mentioned like when we were talking about Jaden Rashada, Sam Levitt, Trenton Bourguet, that battle and every throw during spring ball was analyzed, and how are the quarterbacks looking, how they stacking up. No such drama this year. So, but right now it's just kind of see how things line up after Levitt.
Yeah, and for that battle to transpire for QB3, no problem with that. No problem with that happening between true and redshirt freshmen. Now then, again, if a scenario were come about where Sims happens to take a position elsewhere, if that's the QB2 battle, then that's where things could maybe get a little dicey there. But again, we're not going to try to manufacture some sort of nightmare situation or bad ordeal. You got to be happy with how this quarterback pecking order shakes out, 1 through 3 or even beyond. Again, ASU, if you're looking at this from like a national standpoint, I think there are probably going to be a lot of people that would place ASU's quarterback room at a very high position, because you have one of the, if not the, like up and coming young quarterback in the country in Sam Levitt. And objectively, if someone looks at it and say, hey, their backup has, a great deal of starting experience from Georgia Tech and Nebraska, then you got some guys that are pretty highly rated freshmen coming in. That looks good on paper to a lot of people. So this whole group could be, highly acclaimed when we get into the magazines and the rankings and the things like that. They're going to be coming up in the upcoming months.
So no drama at the top of that depth chart. At running back, however, this one I think is going to be the most fun to watch. Perhaps across, I think on offense, but also I think maybe across the entire team. Now, as you mentioned, Sean Aguano has an assistant this year, and a familiar face, Trenton Bourguet, joining the team and the coaching ranks as the assistant running backs coach. This is going to be a fun battle. Cam Scadaboo is going to be off in the NFL, but I think there's going to be a lot of very interesting characters that are going to be vying for this job. For me, I really like to see what Kyson Brown's able to do. I think he has the makings of a complete back, and it was Scat's number 2 a season ago, had a 100-yard game against U of A. It's always a good thing to do. But a lot of folks are really high on, and for good reasons, Kanye Udo Joe coming in from Army.
Yeah, the running back, this is going to be the number 1 position group I'm going to be keeping my eye on this spring to see how it shakes out, because some of it's been circumstantial. Maybe it's philosophical. We've talked about, Sean Aguano and the possibility of by committee approach, but it's always lent itself to a heavy number 1 and then others. Last year, Kyson Brown got a lot of run. You're not going to take Cam Scadaboo off the field. So there's no way you can I'm not going to question anything Sean Aguano does. I think the world of him. I know we both do. And so it makes you wonder, is that going to continue? Are they going to find and locate, a running back 1 among this group, and that's going to be the guy, and then there's going to be a big gap between the next, or is it going to be a different philosophy? I agree with you completely about Kyson Brown. Really eager to see what he does this spring. I mean, he's incredible, just your textbook definition, no pun intended, of a student athlete, someone that's incredible to stay in the program, to have in the program. I was wondering if he was someone that might, kind of parlay what he did behind Scat into a bona fide, almost guaranteed starting job elsewhere. Very glad that he is still with the program. But then on the other hand, bringing in Kanye Udo, he ran for over 1,100 yards for a 12-win Army team. I don't think that you bring in a guy who did that, nor do I think a guy would choose to transfer to ASU if there weren't a highly legitimate chance of him becoming the starting running back. I'm not implying in any sense that anything was like guaranteed to him or anything like that. That's not how things work around here. But certainly that opportunity will be there. So really curious to see how that breaks down between the two of them. Because I think that Udo can be a highly talented back. We'll see as the practices unfold. I'm curious where he is as a receiver. He only had, I think, 2 catches for 3 yards across 2 years at Army. However, you got to put like a big asterisk on there because I think Army might have thrown the ball 3 times in those 2 years, and he maybe caught 2 of them. That's an exaggeration. They just don't throw the ball very much. So, again, a good problem to have. No one in the world is going to replace Cam Skattebo. I mean, he is one of the most irreplaceable players in college football. If you combine what he did on the field, what he meant to the program, what he is as a human being, I mean, even a Heisman winner like Travis Hunter, I think that Colorado might replace him maybe a little bit easier than ASU can replace Scat, perhaps. But those two at the top, or at least what we perceive to be the top, far from the entirety of the running back group.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because, both those guys have the look. I finally got to meet Kanye up close at a media event the other day and seen him. He looks like a bell cow type of back. Kyson Brown's looked like that since he stepped on campus as a true freshman. But behind them, a lot of intriguing options. Raleek Brown, the former 5-star prospect that signed with USC, unfortunately was not able to get going much last year due to some injuries. We're going to see how healthy he is because during spurts during ASU's camps, looked really good, and having that explosiveness, that speed that can be kind of a bit of a differentiator from more of the power back that Brown and Udo are. That would be interesting to see. Jason Brown's a former 4-star prospect. He had some good moments in the opener, but took the expected red shirt a season ago. So he's still a young back with a lot of promise. Alton McCaskill is still making his way back from injury a season ago. Perhaps took a little bit longer. He's back. So that's a very veteran presence in that room. And, oh, by the way, adding another 4-star prospect in freshman Demarius Robinson from Oklahoma. So this is going to be a really fun group, a lot of diverse skill sets, a couple of guys that have the look and the feel of being, guys that can top 1,000 yards or 1,500 yards, total yards, scrimmage yards, all led by one of the best running back, if not the best running backs coach in the country.
Yeah, the really intriguing name for name, like you just broke down there. It's a similar sentiment, if not identical, this year to where it was last year with McCaskill at ASU, where, man, 2021 is getting farther and farther away by the date. That's how time works. McCaskill's 2021 season was incredible at Houston. He had over 1,000 all-purpose yards and 18 touchdowns, but since then, sadly, it's been next to nothing. He was out the whole following season due to injury, transferred to Colorado, barely played there, transferred to ASU, didn't get a ton of run last year, but that memory is still there. That ability is still somewhere there. And if you can get anything like that, man, that is such a boost. Talked about Raleek Brown, just never really was able to get off the ground due to injury issues last year. They shut him down at a pretty early point, but he's someone, again, that has those 5-star credentials and contributed at USC. So it's not like he's a total unknown. So that could be a factor there as well. I was really impressed by what I saw from Jason Brown in that opener. That was the only action that he got last year, but he looked good running. And so we'll see if he can carve out a position. You talked about Robinson being a guy in the fall. Grayson Rignon's going to show up. Then he's just one of the most intriguing prospects I think ASU has signed in a number of years, coming from 6-man football to 11-man to scoring 40 points a game on average for his whole basketball career in high school. Just seems like the kind of guy that can make it happen. Now that's, again, a conversation for another day because he's not here for the spring. So it seems on paper like it makes sense that Brown and Udo are going to battle it out for that number 1 position and the others are going to fill in spots as well. But it's an open game. You don't necessarily, of course, have a returning starter at running back like you did last year with Skattebo. So the position truly is up for grabs.
All right, at wide receiver, kind of like quarterback, at the very top of the depth chart, you know what you got, and that's one of the nation's best. Jordan Tyson, He's now fully healthy, coming off of that collarbone injury that unfortunately sidelined him near the end of last season. After that, that's where things get a little bit interesting. You have a couple of very talented returners that are really or have the opportunity to finally make their name known. Malik McClain, of course, probably top of that list, made some big time plays in the final 2 games of the season. Copen Borgay is in there. Max Ware is among the returners, and from on the more veteran side, a couple of young returners that are very interesting. Derek Eusebio, and then the guy I'm really high on just to see what he's able to do, Zechariah Sample. But Joe, 7 new faces for the Devils in this position group for Hines Ward.
Yeah, they had to load up, and that's exactly what they did. You have a few different departures, multiple departures in a number of different ways, but you have key losses. Obviously, Xavier Guillory, what he did at the final stretch of last season, especially after Tyson went down to injury, but even before that, I mean, he just really made a name for himself, and it was great to see him end his career on that high note. Melquan Stovall, a similar story as well. A few transfers, so ASU again has to reload at that position group, and that was one that we had a lot of questions about going into last season. I think McClain, man, the glimpses that he showed in those last 2 games that he played in shows the ability to be a playmaker. So if he can put that together for a full season, that would be incredible. Talking about those newcomers, though, naturally the one that's going to stand out the most is going to be Jalen Moss coming across from Fresno State, over 100 career receptions. You're expecting him to settle into like that wide receiver number 2 position. He, should be a starter. If he does not entrench himself in that position over the course of the spring, that's going to be a major concern. But again, you expect that to be the case. Bringing guys like Noble Johnson, Jaron Hamilton as transfers from Clemson and Alabama, former, highly regarded recruits, 4-star recruits, just haven't done a ton at this college level, but a lot of guys, all they need is opportunity. And then you've got a list of true freshmen that are coming in. So there's going to be a lot of competition because realistically speaking, there's only one guy that's got his spot locked in. That's Jordan Tyson. And if you're talking about how the spring practices may see some of those top tier star players, get work in, but maybe not a heavy dose, especially for a guy like Tyson, who's coming off that serious injury to end the year. Going to see a lot of battles at wide receiver, and this is probably going to be that position group again that as we go through things in confidence ratings, that this is the one that has the most to prove.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how some of those newcomers come in. Yeah, Jalen Moss, just what he is the most accomplished guy among that group of 3 transfers. Noble Johnson and Jaron Hamilton. Hamilton's a speedster coming out of Bama. He seems like a guy that could be a factor in this group. And and then the 4 true freshmen, because I mean, even though there's a lot of veterans in this group, you never can count out a young guy, Harry Hassman and Chance Abels from Texas. Hassman, especially with his big frame. Corey Butler, I believe, Dillingham said that his GPA is higher than his 40 time. It was blazing fast, but also a really smart guy. Ryan Nellums is a very talented local product as well. But it's going to be real fun to see this group kind of battle it out, and whether it's kind of the more big-bodied guys like McClain, or some young speedsters like a Zechariah Sample or a Corey Butler. This is a group that I think has an opportunity to working with one of the best quarterbacks in the nation to make their names known, and of course they're all going to be working behind Jordan Tyson, who's just one of the very best in the country. So also interested to see how that chemistry between Levitt and Tyson is developing now into their second season.
Yeah, and obviously these battles in the spring are going to dictate what ASU does in that second wave of the transfer portal. And though they loaded up with all those newcomers, for every position group, it's going to give the opportunity to evaluate where they need to fill in holes. And this can be said again for just about any position group for the most part, but receiver is one where even though all those additions were made, you could see a foreseeable circumstance where if they feel the need, they could go after more talent. So again, the spring is going to give us a really interesting outlook into how this position group might shape up, and if it's something they feel highly confident in after the spring, or if there's a need for more moves.
All right, moving on to tight end. Now, this is another group where the returning starter is one of the conference's best. Shimon Mateer earned second team all-conference honors a season ago, and probably have opportunity to take a step up in this upcoming season. One of the interesting things, the other day when ASU had their media availability, I finally got to see AJ Ia in person, Joe. This guy's a monster. Like this, like freakishly, he's a listed 6'6", 240. Seemed like maybe like a 6'10", like 280. Like this guy looks like an NFL tight end right now.
So he's basically like Brock Osweiler size, just as it is right now, and that's a big dude right there.
Big dude, hyper athletic. True freshman, so a lot to learn. But like when you're, as we'll get to, like there's a lot of talent in this group, but like he jumped out in a way that I haven't seen a prospect, a true freshman, I should say, recently.
We've spent a lot of time. I feel like we talk about this all the time, but we spent a lot of time getting our hopes up about the tight end position. And a lot of times in the past, that has been met with, like 5 to 10 total receptions among the group. This year feels like the year that excitement really should be there and really could materialize into something special based both on what has actually happened on the field and who return and who's kind of waiting in the wings there. So a combination of proof and potential. Shimon Mater was very happy with what he did last year. I thought he came in with some decently high expectations because he was a performer at Cincinnati, and I think he even exceeded those. He talked about him being an all-conference honoree there. Cam Harple, he had a role on this team. He played that role well. And then you look what's being added to things.
Mm-hmm.
You got Kamari Anderson coming over from Kentucky, a former 4-star prospect himself. You have Jaden Fortier off the red shirt. If he can be fully healthy, he was someone that was really climbing the charts at the end of his senior year of high school before that injury that kept him out for an extended period of time. Talk about A.J. Ia. He is the crown jewel of this high school recruiting class for ASU, and he is ready-made and built to play the position right now. He's not one of those like 6'7", 205 tight ends that's got to put a year or two in the training table and in the weight room to get there. So we're talking about a lot of guys who have a lot of potential at a position group that could very well be of significant need, because we talked about wide receivers and a lot of question marks there. What will make life a lot easier for developing those wide receivers is if ASU's tight ends can be as reliable as we expect them to be. So, man, again, don't want to get too ahead of yourself with excitement, but on paper and added to that the accomplishments of last year, it's hard not to think that this group could be something very special.
Especially the way Marcus Arroyo likes to use those tight ends in versatile ways, multiple tight end sets. You mentioned Harple playing that role really well, adding a guy like Kamari Anderson who has experience in the SEC with some of the young talent in that room. Going to be real fun to see how those puzzle pieces fit together. Moving on to the offensive line now. On paper, you see 4 starters back. That's pretty good. Now, however, there's a little bit of asterisk here. One of those starters is moving positions, as we talked about. Ben Coleman was moving over to center. Now, during the spring, starting right tackle Maxi Hanachor will be unfortunately sidelined. That, of course, though, does open up the opportunity for others to make their case. He's starting off perhaps at that right tackle spot. Jalen Klemm is going to be a guy that's coming back after taking a medical red shirt a season ago. You'll hear from him at the end of this episode. Some really interesting insight into the situation there and his road back. But it'll be really interesting to see, Joe, especially the tackles we talked about. Maybe not a weakness a season ago, but perhaps some room for growth, and compared to the interior of the offensive line. Clem's a guy that I think has a big opportunity, whether it is at the left side challenging Josh Atkins or taking a claim to the right side as well, battling with a guy like a Champ Westbrooks, who's also bulked up nicely over the offseason. And at left tackle, again, with Klemm, Atkins coming back, it's going to be real interesting, I think, at those 2 very key tackle spots.
Yeah, I mean, you lose Lee Fotanu, and that's, is such a significant presence on the field, in the locker room. I mean, that's a big loss. And you also lose guys like Cade Briggs, Emmett Boley, who played and started for this team in some meaningful reps. So again, though this team has retained an incredible amount of talent from last year, there are some departures there, including some significant ones. Of course, Fotanu was a first-team all-conference honoree this past season. That transition that Ben Coleman's going to be making from guard to center, it's not terribly uncommon, but it is a transition. It's something new. I don't believe that he's played that at the college level. He's played tackle at Cal, but I don't believe that he's played center, to my knowledge. And then you talked about those offensive tackles. I believe that was the starting pair for every single game last year. But to your point, still there could be a room for improvement or a opportunity for a guy like Klemm, if he's going to be a fixture there for the bulk of or all of the spring. He could make a very, very strong case for himself. ASU kind of as a team is a little bit better suited to fill the interior positions. If you look through the depth chart or just the lineup along the offensive line, some of the more ready-made players as far as the upperclassmen or ones with experience are going to be a lot of those interior positions. They do have a lot of young guys for the offensive tackle spots. Guys like Xander Rigoroli coming over from Nebraska, Champ Westbrooks, who is a highly regarded prospect. Those could be future fixtures at tackle. So, as you mentioned, there are a lot of names and faces that are familiar that return, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't going to be maybe some moving pieces or some ones that could surprise and carve out a role that some may not expect that they'd have.
Yeah, so talking about the inside there, of course, Coleman will be sliding over to center. The staff really thinks he has his best prospects as a pro at that spot, of course, along with team need. Sean Ah is going to be a factor there in terms of his continued seasoning there. He was also getting a lot of backup reps to Leaf Fatano a season ago. Expect that to continue at right guard. You're looking at returning starter Kyle Scott, one of the most improved players throughout the course of last season. Left guard, I think, is going to be very interesting. Jimeto Obigbo, the Texas State transfer, who you also hear from at the end of this episode. Sean Ah should be a factor in there as well. Some young interior guys that have an opportunity as well to make their name known. Terrell Kim just seems like a lot of buzz in terms of the gains he's been making in the weight room. And of course, playing, inside strength is all about it. Joey Sua, the Arkansas transfer, could be in that mix as well. Also, another guy that Saga Tuatele said to keep an eye on, true freshman Makai Stewart, 6'5", 330 as a true freshman. That's a not size that should be taken lightly.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of battles there on the interior positions. Sean Naa, that's an interesting study there. Obviously, he's someone that played a lot of meaningful minutes and started as a true freshman. We all know the story about how he just kind of randomly, abruptly was inserted into the starting lineup to clash with one of the best defensive ends in the country. Playing offensive tackle was the case for Naa. He missed the majority of last year. I believe he's credited with some game appearances, but basically sat out the season for the most part, or at least wasn't factored into the starting lineup. So we'll see what happens for him here in year 3, because of course, with Ben Coleman moving to center, there is that opening at the guard, specifically left guard. And as we talked about, ASU has a lot of folks that can compete for that position both now and moving forward as fall approaches. So once again, even though there are a lot of familiar faces and starters coming back, this is not what we've seen in the past where ASU might have to replace like 3 or 4 starters. And it's just, who knows what's going to happen in the spring. It's a little bit more isolated, but there still are some battles to keep your eye on.
All right. So as we close the books on the offensive spring ball preview, had a chance to catch up with wide receiver Malik McClain to talk about his big performance in the Peach Bowl and the wide receiver room.
All right, Malik, let's start off with the big play in the Peach Bowl. When they make that play call and you hear like, okay, this gadget play's coming, Scat's going to be throwing me the ball. What are the thoughts going through your head as you guys are running out there?
Catch it. I just feel like ball in the air, do what I do since I've been doing since 9th grade. Like ball in the air, just catch it, run it in and touch
How'd it feel to make that play in that huge moment and really, as part of just a miraculous comeback?
Yeah, it was special. I feel like it's been a long time coming. I feel like the team needed it and I needed it. I needed it for the team. So it was like vice versa. Like, after that, it was just a spark that I had a flame.
How did it feel to come out with a couple of huge plays in the postseason after taking the red shirt through the course of the regular season?
It felt good. I wouldn't say that routine, but if you make a play for so long, it's kind of routine at that point. So just making the plays and the ball that comes to me.
When you first joined the team in fall camp, seemed like you really were one of the impact players and covering the practices like day in day out. You're making some big plays. How difficult was the decision to ultimately take the red shirt and into last season?
It wasn't difficult at all. I had stuff going on my end, so I kind of had to. I kind of needed it just for me and my progression throughout my journey, and it was one of the things that I was blessed to still have going throughout my years. So it was an option for me, and I had to take it.
What were some of the things that you think when during that redshirt year and kind of putting in that work, kind of behind the scenes, that you really made the biggest strides that's prepared you well for 25?
I think it was mostly like the mental. I know a lot of people think they see us lift weights, run fast, and that's probably a good 35-40% of the game. 60% is being clear-minded, mentally knowing what you have to do, seeing the defense, making calls, reads, And I think that's the biggest thing that I feel like I worked on last year.
And you know, this wide receiver room heading into you know, this spring, you know, some returning faces. Jordan, they're coming off a big year, but also a lot of new faces. You know, what are some of the early impressions of this Sun Devil wide receiver group?
I think we got some young scrappers, man. I feel like the guys we got are gonna come in, you know, and make a name for themselves. And, you know, they work hard already. You know, we just do workouts, but it ain't been easy. You know, so you kind of see them in a high pressured or environment, you know, just by workouts. And Coach Joe doesn't make it easy, so we can see it early.
What's it like working with a Super Bowl MVP on a day in, day out basis?
Man, it's great. You can't ask me anything better than that. Like, he's gonna tell you the real. He's gonna tell you what to do. It's just up to you to do it. For real.
How's the chemistry with Sam coming along?
Good. It's been good. Great. Oh my God.
What are some of the things that he does from a quarterback and a leadership perspective that really kind of foster those relationships with the receivers?
I think he's a hard worker, and you know, I think that's the biggest thing in football. You know, you can say a lot, but if you do it, and we see you do it, and you can see you work hard, like it ignites like a flame in us. Like, all right, my quarterback is outrunning these guys. Like, I can get outrun everybody. You know, so I think him pushing himself to be the greatest he can be is also bringing up the whole room.
What have you kind of worked on in the offseason? Everybody here since mentioned that all the Sun Devils love the extra work. So what kind of extra work have you been working on to try to maybe bring out new facets of your game?
My releases. I think I want to be wide open. Like, I don't want to make any contested catches. That's my goal. Just be wide open. Like, why I see you wide open? That's the biggest thing. My route running, and my number one thing is probably just being mentally sound in the game, because it's a new playbook for me, and I pretty much learned it last year. So off season, I've just mastered the playbook day in, day out, day in, day out. So yeah.
As you've been focused on, did you feel like you were better with inside leverage, outside leverage, and just overall, is that kind of what you've been focusing on?
Yeah. So I've been doing a little bit of both, a little bit of off catch technique. My freshman and sophomore year, I used to struggle with taller guys because I was always going against smaller people. So I was always the biggest guy in high school, so I didn't have to, you know, I'm a guy who's 6'2" with me. I'm like, wow, like I've never seen this before. So, you know, going against taller guys, I've been able to work my magic, use my strength, which is my bigness, my size. So I'm just using my strengths, and my weakness is probably my quickness. So I've been working on that too with my feet.
You've been preparing even more for the physicality of the Big 12. How confident you've kind of feeling yourself after a year?
Oh, very. You know, at the end of the day, I'm a competitor. So, and it's football. I've been doing this since I was fourth grade. I think you got a really good chance to run the table with these guys, and you know, the team we got, I believe in them.
What are kind of the biggest impacts of Coach Dillingham's culture that you've noticed? I mean, you know, you're kind of entering your second year here, but his culture still seems to impact guys every single year. Guys grow. Kind of what have you noticed from him, especially with all the newcomers?
I think Coach Dillingham's biggest thing is like he taps into a different side except for football. He really invests into his players, who they are, and what he stands for, and he tries to instill that in us every day. You know, and that's just being a good person, you know, working on the little things that we need to work on, like I said, like footwork. You know, if each one of us can have like that one little thing that we work on, that one little thing that we need to master, imagine the progression the whole team makes, you know? So I feel like he invests that mindset into us.
It's graduated, so a lot of new guys kind of coming in looking for that new wide receiver spot. How have you been helping them along in the process?
Just being the ear, and then like being the shoulder. The guys, they ask me, you know, what they need to work on, or you know, some people ask me to help them go through the playbook. Like I said, I worked on that last year, so you know, anything they need, because I know how it feels to be a new guy. I know how it feels to go in the room and you're competing with a guy and you don't want to ask him because I want your spot. You know what I'm saying? So I know how it feels, and you know, I've been blessed to be in rooms, wide receiver rooms, where guys were helping me, no problem.
All right, time to talk about the defense. Now, on offense, as we talked about, there are some position groups where there's a lot of intrigue, a lot of opportunity, especially perhaps at that running back spot and the on the wide receiver group as well. Defense, not so much. So many faces are back. This is a good problem to have. We should preface that. Good problem to have. Most of the key defenders are back and starting off on the defensive line. I mean, it just looks like everybody. I mean, just a rundown of everybody who kind of ended the year with a key role on that line, except for Jeff Clark, Clayton Smith, Prince Dorba, Elijah O'Neal, Justin Watley, CJ Fight, Jay Kukengaika, Zach Swanson, Blazin Lona Wong. Everybody's back. Plus, you're getting the veteran, I believe in his 7th year, Anthony Cooper, who's coming back off that unfortunate knee injury. He got another year. That's a veteran group.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the depth chart for the Peach Bowl, ASU has all but one piece of its 3 deep at all 4 defensive line positions coming back. And it was Jeff Clark that you mentioned, who had an excellent end to the season, consistent force during the year, but really had a great end to the season. And that is such a major, major boost. And you talked about it. Anthony Cooper coming back, still on the roster, gearing up for his 7th year. He's the elder statesman now, I believe, with Trenton Bourguet moving on to a coaching position. I believe that Cooper is, again, the eldest statesman at ASU. He started his career in 2019. My goodness, the things that guy has seen as a member of the Sun Devil football program. It is honestly pretty, unfortunate, pretty heartbreaking that he wasn't able to participate in the incredible season last year. So all the more reason for ASU to make another run. So a veteran like him who has braved through some difficult times and stayed in Tempe deserves that sort of reward. But man, as effective as the line was last year, obviously the entire interior headlined by CJ Fight, who was an all-conference honoree, guys like Zach Swanson, who really improved last year. A lot to be excited about, though. Of course, we have talked about how there is a need for this team to improve its pass rush. So I think that's something that a lot of folks are going to keep an eye on as spring ball. I mean, through the entirety of this offseason, because that is something that needs to improve. And they didn't really make too many significant additions. You got Michael Gardner, of course, the Peoria Liberty High School product coming back from Oregon from the transfer portal, but not a lot of adjustments made personnel wise. So you're just looking for guys to take the coaching and improve what they do on the field.
Yeah, Gardner is going to be in that mix for the defensive tackle spots there. And so I think a lot of the intrigue is going to come at looking at some of those younger D linemen. Are they going to be able to find a spot in that veteran laden top group of the line? One guy that I keep hearing a lot of positive buzz about, and that had some flashes a season ago, Albert Smith, and CJ Fight is really high on him. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be able to come a factor off the edge. But then you got a couple of former Boilermakers that could be in the mix in 2025, and Roman Petrie, JP Dieter as well. Sleazy Manu, Ramar Williams is an Arizona product as well. But it's going to be a lot of the same familiar names on that defense, and that was up front. We'll see if they can improve that pass rush. They certainly have the talent to do so. And for a lot of these guys heading into the 3rd year in this system, and they said that year 2 is understanding the why of the defense. Now in year 3, it'll be interesting to see how much they can level up there.
Yeah, I mean that trio of Clayton Smith, Prince Dorba, Elijah O'Neal, who had a really good season last year. Very fortunate that he's able to come back for another year because of those eligibility decisions with former JUCO players. That's a group that really needs to get like 18 to 20 sacks between the 3 of them. I mean, it really needs to happen. You got to get past this like season leading sack guys in the 4 to 5 range. I'm not saying you got to have a Terrell Suggs caliber year, but let's get maybe to like the 7 to 8 range, and then the next guy with 5 to 6 or something like that. Like something that's a more formidable force, because that really is one of the. There are not a lot of areas that you can point to on this team that you wanted to be better last year. That would be tremendously greedy with the caliber of season the Sun Devils had. But that pass rush is something that I think that the program knows they need to improve.
Moving on to linebacker. Now you're losing a guy like Caleb McCullough. Such a great story to see him, put in the work. A guy who put in more than a few seasons during the Herm era, but to be rewarded by becoming such a key member of this defense. But other than that, a lot of this linebacker room comes back. Keyshawn Elliott, Jordan Crook, Zyrus Fiaseu are coming back. Tate Romney is still in that mix as well in terms of the veteran presence. But Joe, there's a guy that I think is really primed to make a name. Perhaps maybe the McCullough of this year in terms of a guy that might be on the outside looking in heading into the year, but might factor in pretty well. And that's Martell Hughes, who was a true freshman a season ago. Played safety in high school, so all last year was still learning the position, but a lot of folks have been pretty high on him. smart guy as well. I believe he's also in the Barrett Honors College as well, along with Keith Abney and Kyson Brown. Smart guy, very physical guy, big time plays on special teams throughout the year. So I think he's got a chance to break through during spring. Isaiah Iosefa is the addition through their signing of their high school signing class this year. He's going to be a true freshman. He's got some intriguing aspects to him as well. I believe a All-American game participant. So, but yeah, again, another top-heavy group on this team. I mean, it's almost like copy-paste in terms of just this defensive preview.
Yeah, for Martell Hughes, high on him as well. I mean, last year had to be such a massive confidence boost for him. You know, coming in as a true freshman, essentially making a position change, as you mentioned, from safety to linebacker, getting ample playing time on a team that went on to be a college football playoff participant, making plays on defense and a critical play on special teams. So that helps. That's a lot to build on. So he should have a very bright future. And, you know, for the rest, there's a lot of talent there, a lot of experience there. Want to see, you know, consistency. Guy like Keyshawn Elliott came out like gangbusters to begin the season. We've talked about kind of leveled off, but he's someone that has the credentials of a big time playmaker. Kind of similar story for Fiaseo as well. Jordan Crook really came on at the end. You know, the first few games of the season took him a bit to get acclimated to things, but there's a lot of talent there. That departure of Caleb McCullough, that'll be felt. You know, that's a highly consistent player who, you know, you love to see it. Kind of like we were talking about how unfortunate it was that Anthony Cooper wasn't able to enjoy last season on the field. You feel equally good for a guy like Caleb McCullough that he was able to put together the senior season that he had last year and be a very integral force for Arizona State. But the linebacker group, as you mentioned, that's something that you've still got the versatility, you still got the depth, you've got a lot of bodies out there competing for a few spots. So that should be, you know, hotly contested, not just among those top tier guys, because you kind of feel like those top three are going to be, you know, Fiaseo, Crook, and Elliott. Others can jump into the fray as well. They're going to get a couple freshmen in for the fall as well. So this is a group that's going to have a lot of depth to work with.
All right, moving on to corner, and like just some of their positions, the starters are back. Keith Abney and Javen Robinson, two guys who really, I thought, impressed and improved throughout the course of the season. Should be one of the conference's better tandems. Now that cornerback 3 position that LaTerrence Welch had some success in last year. Of course, you know, we talked about he's no longer a Sun Devil for some off the field disciplinary reasons. So I think that's going to be one of the key things to watch here, and is who is able to claim that third cornerback spot. You have 3 returning redshirt freshmen from a season ago: Rodney Bimage, Plaz, and Chris Johnson, and Tony Lewis and Cuba. Very intrigued to see where they fit in. Nyland Green, the former 5-star prospect, who's bounced around a little bit, played at Purdue last year with Kyndrich Breedlove, an ASU safety transfer. Is he going to be able to finally tap into that vast potential and live up to those lofty claims? We'll see. I think true freshman Joseph Smith also has a chance to make a claim as well. But it's kind of a luxury you have at this point to know that you guys at least have the first 2 the 2 starting corners in this group locked down among the Big 12's best.
Yeah, this time last year, the sentiments were very, very different because ASU was replacing both its cornerbacks. Really didn't know what we had coming in. You know, with Robinson coming in from Washington State, Keith Abney got a little bit of play as a freshman. So that pendulum is swinging in a very positive direction. Yeah, as you mentioned, that cornerback duo improved dramatically over the course of the season, became, you know, a playmaking strength of the team. And I feel comfortable and confident enough with the depth behind them. Again, a guy like Green, sometimes the light can go on when it's like your last opportunity. Those redshirt freshmen from last year's class that are going to be contributors, they have a lot of talent there. Some 4-star guys or some high 3 stars. So I don't think that it'll be too terribly difficult for them to replace the level of play that Welch had. He made some significant plays, but I think that they have the pieces to do that, and maybe to do that with more depth.
All right, so moving over to the safety position now. Shamari Simmons, man, that's going to be real hard to replace in what he was able to do, moving over from safety to nickel and having the season he did a year ago. You know, still one of the biggest robberies of all conference honors. I think since we've been doing the show, it was really kind of tragic that he was not getting more pub than he did. But you return Xavier Alford, one of the best safeties in the conference. Miles Rouser, an ascendant player, maybe the hardest hitter in the conference. In some cases, maybe too hard. But I think that that who that nickel corner or that nickel safety spot is going to be real interesting to see. Kyndrich Breedlove is coming over from Purdue, a very talented, versatile player in his own right, and he'll be battling with some returning guys, Montana Warren, Kyan McDonald as well. Unfortunately, Boogie Wilson came over from Washington State. He's going to be sidelined throughout spring, so we will have to wait to see what he can contribute to this defense. But again, ASU has the luxury of having two of the very best starters in the conference at that safety position group, along with some one good, interesting position battle on that defensive side.
Yeah, I mean, replacing Simmons is going to be a very, very tough task. He was the two-time defensive MVP, at least in our eyes, team MVP. I mean, they really made the absolute most of the time that he had at Arizona State, and certainly hoping that maybe that all-conference snub is countered by his name getting called on draft day or across the draft days into the NFL. So that's something that, again, it's an uphill battle to try to replace a player like that, but ASU did a more than fair job in terms of the players that were acquired from the transfer portal, like Breedlove and Wilson, others that are coming up through the system like Warren, McDonald, and others. So, you feel like it shouldn't be a massive drop off. It's just very difficult to replace the all-purpose playmaking. It's like a Cam Scatteroo type presence on defense when you have a guy like Simmons who can, play various parts of the field, who can come up and make some really heavy hits, can force turnovers, can play in a lot of different situations, just a highly versatile player. So that's going to be, probably the second biggest task ASU is going to have in terms of replacing departed players is the task ahead of the team in terms of replacing Shamari Simmons. But Alford and Rouser, some very key pieces. Alford, of course, was a first-team all-conference honoree. Rouser, he brings that heat, and over the course of the season, it really evolved into a consistent level of play and making a lot more positive than negative plays. So he's someone that, as you mentioned, he's on the upswing as well. So as a whole, you feel good about the position group, but it's going to be one of the top 3 or so position battles to watch this spring. Will be the one at nickel to replace Shamari Simmons.
All right, so rounding things out, we'll move over to special teams. Now, the specialists, which should be interesting. Canyon Floyd's back after I'd say solid-ish, solid adjacent true freshman season.
Not bad.
Yeah. Well, so we'll I mean, he is a guy that has all the tools there. Just looking a matter of putting that together consistently. Although I mean, he was perfect on the fake punt, so probably one of the best in the conference there. But one of the biggest splashes that ASU made through the transfer portal, Jesus Gomez, bringing him over from Eastern Michigan to vie for that starting kicker job, a guy with multiple All-MAC honors on his resume. Carson Kiefer and Ian Hershey are back in that mix, but all eyes, I think, are going to be on the lefty, Gomez.
Yeah, so that's something that, it's interesting to see, and this has just happened as recently as today. There are fans out there, Sun Devil fans, who have very limited faith in the special teams. I'm not saying I joined that group. I'm just saying that it exists to the point that they kind of question even just simple black and white credentials that are out there. Folks should be excited about Jesus Gomez and what he has done. This is someone that was an accurate kicker. He connected on 20 out of 25 field goals last year. Among kickers in the country with 25 or more attempts, he was 6th in accuracy. He has made at least one 55-yard field goal in each of the last 3 seasons, including a 57-yarder last year. This is a guy who's played in the MAC. So think about those like October, November games. He's playing a lot, obviously, in the state of Michigan, whether it's at his own place or somewhere else. A lot of games in Ohio, some in New York, like they play Buffalo. Like these are not easy conditions to kick in. So kick in better conditions here in Tempe, but he's also prepared to kick. ASU plays road games late in the season at Iowa State and Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. That helps with that. He's made 6 kicks in the last 3 years over 50 yards or more. Since Zane Gonzalez departed, in his last year here was 2016. ASU as a team is a combined 4 out of 14 from 50 plus in nearly a decade worth of time. Gomez has made 6 50-plus yarders in the last 3 years. So I'd encourage folks to get excited about this player. He's someone that If he would have been in the Big 12 last year, would have been a top 3 to 5 kicker statistically, and the Big 12 had some of the best in the country doing what they do. 3 of the top 15 most accurate kickers in the NCAA were in the Big 12 conference. So what I'm saying here, if you ask me, this pickup of Gomez is either the most important, or maybe depending on what happens with Kanye Udo, I think the top or second most important that ASU has made, not just in terms of it being a position of need, but a guy that can play. So all this roundabout, long-winded answer I'm giving you is it's very possible, can't make any guarantees, but it's possible that consistency and capability are on their way in the form of Jesus Gomez at place kicker for ASU.
And he also is the reason Kenny Dillingham is ASU's head coach, as he hit those field goals when Eastern Michigan came down here in the upset that forced the firing of Herm Edwards. Also, if you happen to miss it, check the Speak of the Devil's YouTube page for an interview that I did with him a while back after he committed. A very, very interesting dude, making his way from Mexico and played soccer initially. He took an interest in American football. His dad didn't want him to get hit so much, so he turned in and found out that he was a pretty good kicker. And then, of course, made his way to the MAC. Now back in Tempe, where he made his mark with 3 for 3 against ASU, and now he's be kicking for the good guys. Before we dive into some basketball talk, here's a conversation with new ASU safety Kyndrich Breedlove.
What were some of the reasons ultimately that Arizona State was the right place for you to continue your career?
Just the system that they built here, with Coach Dillingham and Coach Barry, the culture that they built, man, I just knew this was the right place. They actually had a successful year this past year, going to the college football playoffs. So, I felt like that was a big boost, when it came to making my decision.
So how have these, first several weeks of being a Sun Devil gone behind the scenes?
They've gone pretty well. I would say I'm getting used to the weather. I came from Purdue, so it was kind of cold out there for real. So just getting used to the weather and stuff, man. Just taking it all in. Arizona also, so this is just a great place to be overall. So it's been well.
So now that you're kind of learning this program, learning the ropes of how this culture is, and how does this the culture of Kenny Dillingham kind of compare to what you've been used to at Purdue?
Just the competitive nature. Everything is competitive here, and I feel like it'll bring the best out of everybody. No matter if you played 100 snaps, 500 snaps, it don't matter. Just the competitive nature, and just he loves the kids here. He loves the players. So I think that's some of the main things that I took away from it.
How do you feel that playing Big Ten ball has really helped prepare you for kind of what's coming up in the Big 12?
Man, this Big Ten ball, it was some big names, man. Some big teams, and man, I would just say the competitive nature. You know what I'm saying? There's competition everywhere. I don't see the Big 12 being no different. There's studs everywhere. So I just, I'm just trying to, accelerate from last year. You know what I'm saying? And do something better.
What is it? Obviously not coming over here alone, with a couple other, with Nyland coming in this class, and also a couple of other Boilermakers in Roman Petrie and JP Dieter. What does it mean to have just some familiar faces here as you make this move to this next chapter?
Just seeing that, the world is small, you know what I'm saying, and just seeing that everybody came from different places, different situations and stuff like that, man, it's good to see. I'm glad that we all came back, essentially on the same team now, but, just it's good to just see everybody, place together.
How have you enjoyed your adjustment so far, being from a Big 12 school, being in Indiana, and being in Tempe, and kind of adjusting everything?
I think I've adjusted pretty good. Just getting used to the culture here. You know what I'm saying? I'm a new guy, but I have been around college football for a while, so I would say it wasn't just pretty hard. I just meeting my new teammates and stuff like that.
How has that been as well? Obviously, the team had a lot of success last year here at Tempe, but a lot of younger guys, especially in that safety position and that kind of stuff, you being a redshirt senior, having the opportunity to show a lot of experience. What do you think you're kind of going to be able to add and bring to this group? Some of the young guys that even know having you here, despite the fact that you're the one that's
I feel like that I would be able to bring just experience. I have game experience, so I can be able to see differently than some younger guys that probably wouldn't. So I think spring is a good time for me to be another coach like on the field while the coaches are on the sideline. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's really good. I think I can show that I'm versatile, and I can show the other guys like this is a platform of how you can do it. I'm a fast guy, twitchy. I can cover, so I think it'll be good.
What's been your favorite moment so far when it comes to getting to know the guys, or just kind of embedding yourself in the culture so far?
Oh, say it again. I'm sorry.
Your favorite moment so far of anything that's happened in the first couple of weeks here at ASU, trying to the culture and get used to being around the guys?
I ain't gonna lie, Coach. Like I said, when you were asking me questions, Coach Dillingham, he makes events, things happen, and it's you don't know what's gonna happen, but it's we had a moment yesterday where we was find your balloon, and everybody was going down, and you had people just talking, everybody was yapping. Didn't nobody find their balloon, obviously, but the whole point was you need another person, you need help, you need a teammate, you know what I'm saying? So I feel that was probably one of the biggest things, that stood out to me.
So when any ASU fans might not have caught you in action for the Boilermakers, give us a self-scouting report. What kind of skills do you bring to this defense?
I want to stay humble, but let's say I'm a decent cover guy. My tackling is decent, and I would say they have big things coming. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep everything on the low right now, though.
I like those attitudes as well. Decent, considering when you played at the statue and put up do you think when it comes to your talents and abilities that your impact is going to be felt in a very diverse sector of ways? I know a lot of times guys are going to get some parts of the game and maybe kind of sway to a point that you got to be a man coverage, be a guy that's trying to lead a gap and tackle. What do you think your skill set's going to show on the field? And what do you think your favorite part of the game defensively is?
And that's one of the good things why I came here. Coach Ward doesn't really have a cap on what I can do. He wants me to play in the box. He wants me to cover. He wants me to play up top at safety. Essentially, I can be going that corner. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that I would be just having a cap on what I can do. I think that I'll be able to show that I'm versatile and just showcasing my skills at my best ability. And I think Coach Ward is going to put everybody in different positions to see who works best for the whole defense.
Welcoming back from DevilsDigest.com to talk a little Sun Devil basketball and Bobby Hurley and what the future may hold for the Devils. Of course, the one and the only Hod Rabino, my man, Hod. Thank you for joining us here.
Joe, Brad, always a pleasure.
All right, so before we dive into kind of the nitty gritty of Bobby Hurley and everything that was surrounding him and his status, the season is not quite done for the Devils. They were going to participate, as we mentioned off the top, in the college basketball crown tournament in Las Vegas, opened up against Nebraska. So what kind of team do you think ultimately takes the court, after the kind of the rough season ASU finally had? As we mentioned, the games taking place a little bit after the transfer portal window opened. And, what do you think of the overall benefit and the reason why the Devils are doing this?
Look, here's the thing, Brad. I mean, obviously there's no guarantees when it comes to the transfer portal. You can make all the projections in the world about this player leaving, this player staying. I think I have enough NIL to pay all the players that I want to pay and all that stuff. But, ultimately it is maybe somewhat of a risk of this transfer portal being open for just about a week before ASU takes to the court. And ironically, having a depleted roster, mostly due to injuries, really was a running theme for the Sun Devils. I'm not anticipating anybody jumping in the portal before they play that game against Nebraska. And, ironically, there's been some kind of a movement in the football world where a lot of teams are not holding spring games because they're afraid that if player X or player Y is having a great spring game and maybe he wasn't somebody that was highly sought after with other Power 4 programs, well, now the Vultures are going to come and try to get theirs. But I think we have a tournament like the Crown. I think it's kind of like the opposite, where actually you're just having to showcase players and maybe kind of running that risk, but also giving your outgoing seniors hopefully a stage so they can further their basketball career, which most likely would be overseas at this point, maybe G League if they're lucky. So it does serve a purpose in that matter. I also think that Bobby Hurley feels pretty confident that his freshman players are going to continue to be in Tempe next year, along with a guy like Sean Phillips, who's going to be a senior next season. A guy like Austin Nunez, who was injured 3 games into the season, still won't be able to play to preserve his medical red shirt. But from what I'm told, he's already practicing, and I'm expecting to see him get even more valuable practice time as ASU is playing in this Crown tournament. So there are definitely some benefits for Sun Devils to play in this game, but the transfer portal is always lurking. So you hope that ASU doesn't get hit with some unexpected bad news before the tip-off against the Huskers.
All right, so now looking at this season that is, going to culminate in the Crown tournament. Now, of course, there were so many injuries that this team battled, throughout the entire duration. Other circumstances at play, but how much of this season's struggles do you really kind of put on the shoulders of head coach Bobby Hurley?
Look, I think Bobby Hurley, to some extent, definitely took some responsibility and said that he had to build a better roster to sustain personnel losses. And yes, there were some significant injuries. And when you just take a look at the 2 talented freshmen, Jaden Quaidance and Jason Sannon, I think you're looking at just about 10 games missed combined between those 2 players. And I think everybody knew before the season tipped off that if 1 or 2 of those players are not going to be available or not play well for one reason or another, that ASU's season could definitely go south in a hurry. And that's basically what happened. But, Bobby Hurley, I think, should have had a wider rotation just to expect the unexpected, which I think every coach needs to do. And again, he admitted that he did not do a good job with that. We'll see how successful he is in that specific feat, for the upcoming season. But I also think that when you have the quote unquote usual issues that we've seen some Bobby Hurley teams not being able to effectively play against zone defenses, not being consistently effective in running a half-court offense when the opponent knows that you like to run and gun and will deliberately slow your pace on offense. Those are things that I think Bobby Hurley and his staff could have done a better job with, and I'm sure Bobby Hurley, if not publicly, definitely privately, would agree to that. I don't know if this Crown tournament is some kind of redemption for what took place in the regular season, but I'm curious to see how this team comes out in this tournament. Like I said earlier, Brad, it's a tournament that a lot of teams politely declined invitations. ASU jumped all over it. So we'll see if their roster can stay intact for that tournament in Las Vegas. I'm curious to see how well they do play and if the young and supposedly returning players for next season can really build some kind of momentum into the next campaign.
Now, of course, over the last several weeks, maybe even the last couple months, the fate of Bobby Hurley was a hot button topic amongst Sun Devil fans, and certainly in the huddle on devilsdigest.com as well. Unlike Natasha Adair, Bobby Hurley will be getting another season. He's coming back. So ultimately, what were some of the factors and the reasons why there'll be a year 11 of Bobby Hurley?
I think you really cannot overlook the financial factor. I know a lot of people are going to jump at me to saying that and said, well, Natasha Adair got just north of $1.5 million. How come you couldn't pay Bobby Hurley not quite triple that salary, but pretty close to it? And look, I think that ASU definitely has some financial challenges. The report, came out that the university's general fund, now that they're taking full subsidy of the scholarship cost of the athletic department, did pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million to really take that debt off of the athletic department's hands. And this is also anticipation to the revenue sharing model, where ASU is going to pay student athletes collectively just about $20 million, just to maybe figure that's a little less than that. So when you want to tack on a figure that probably would be $4.5 million, if you consider not only buying out Bobby Hurley but also buying out his assistants, that is something that definitely was not going to be feasible with the financial structure of the athletic department, and again, all the expenses that they're anticipating for this year. We also know that football salaries are higher. The burden that there is, the buyouts for Herm Edwards and Ray Anderson are still going to be on the books for this coming year. So, Bobby Hurley, I think just from a financial aspect, was something that the athletic department decided that was better off not to engage in. Time will tell if he's going to get a contract with an extension, a contract without an extension. If there is going to be an extension, I'm expecting the buyout to be much, much minimal and not the full amount of his salary. So we'll see what happens over there. But, going back to my earlier point, I think one reason Bobby Hurley is playing in the Crown Tournament is that he feels confident that the freshman players are going to continue next year. And I think, I know that that's the case that he made to Graham Rossini when we're talking about his future at Arizona State. One thing to keep in mind, it's really not talked about enough, that this is the last year of the super seniors, the seniors that sometimes had 6, maybe even 7 years due to that COVID year eligibility freeze. So that means that you have a lot of teams around the country that now need to replace 8, 9 players, and some pretty good teams at that too, that might have the deeper NIL pockets. But now when you need to replace that many players, you're going to think twice and 3 times which players you're going to bring on board. So maybe that helps a team like ASU preserve its roster, knowing that their freshmen may not be all sought out after. And even a guy like Jason Sanin, who, as we all know, had a very rough Big 12 campaign, definitely compared to his non-conference play. Obviously, that injury in the Big 12 season opener against BYU definitely hampered him quite a bit. But, he carries a pretty high NIL tag. And I think Bobby Hurley and ASU feel confident, and I can't blame them, that he's most likely not going to get poached just because of the roster challenges a lot of teams have out there. Then you got Jaden Quaidance, the talented forward who suffered a serious knee injury late in the season. But I pretty much knew that he was done for the year. I know that ASU were very careful in their statements from week to week. He's not going to play in the Crown Tournament, obviously. But this is an injury that is definitely going to hinder him during summer workouts and even the preseason workouts in October in anticipation to the season opener. So again, you're talking about a player who likes it at ASU. He does have a high NIL tag, and just because of his unfortunate circumstances, is probably not going to be somebody who a lot of power conference teams are going to try to poach out there. So again, I think that's just some of the aspects that did go into the decision. And again, I feel that freshmen like Trevor Best, Amir Ali, senior to be Sean Phillips, Austin Nunes, all going to stay with the team. So really, I mean, if all those players do stay intact, I mean, you don't have a bad nucleus at all to build upon, and that's something that along with the financial aspect was definitely working well for Bobby Hurley, about to begin his 11th year in Tempe.
So a moment ago, you touched on something that's essentially the kind of the essence of my next question, and that's the whole how does Bobby Hurley staying at ASU look, contractually? Is it an extension? Is it not an extension? What do the dollars look like? Obviously, that's unknown at this time. What do you think ASU, I guess, should do in order to kind of keep everybody happy, but not to necessarily invest too terribly much into him?
Look, I mean, we live in a world of optics, and some people, that statement in the bubble might irk them, but optics do dictate a lot of how decisions are made, how people are conducting themselves. So to have Bobby Hurley as a lame duck coach, as people know, 25-26 is going to be Bobby Hurley's last year on contract with ASU, to not offer him an extension, which again can have no buyout or can have a very comfortable buyout for ASU. I think that again, when you look at the optics, maybe something that ASU does not want to engage in. So my guess, and this is just an educated guess, that Bobby Hurley is going to get a 1 year, maybe even a 2 year extension. But again, when you talk about extensions, Joe, the buyout is really what makes that extension a burden or lack thereof. And again, there's no way that ASU is going to go into an adventure that means an extension with a pretty hefty buyout for Bobby Hurley, whether he leaves Tempe 2 years from now or 3 years from now. I also think that when it comes to recruiting, it doesn't really matter if you do or do not have an extension. So I know you got that argument. I mean, with a robust transfer portal, with players really deciding more based on dollars and cents rather than if Team A is better than Team B, you can definitely make the argument that a coach without an extension, a lame duck coach, is not really going to hamper recruiting that much, especially if you're going to bring a lot of seniors playing their last year of college basketball. They just want a good stage in a power conference team to showcase their skills. If it's not for the NBA draft, could be for the G League, could be playing overseas. So you definitely, have that element of the conversation. But again, I would be somewhat surprised if Bobby Hurley does not receive an extension with a token buyout, if you will, because again, I think the optics of a lame duck coach, when you talk about a decision that many saw controversial to have him return to Tempe in his 11th year, I don't think that really is something that is going to sit well with the powers to be at ASU.
So though the season was pretty much an unmitigated nightmare, though we're talking a lot of gloom and doom right now, staying on that topic of recruiting, ASU is in the running for a nationally elite player in its own backyard in Koa Pete, a top 10 national prospect. And not only are they in the running, there's a legitimate chance that ASU has. So what are you hearing about Pete and his recruitment as it pertains to the Sun Devils?
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I don't think no ASU fan should be surprised at all if Koa Pete does end up being a Sun Devil. He's very close with his family. He has family circumstances that it would behoove him to stay in the Valley, not only stay in state. I know that Arizona is making a strong pitch at him. I don't think that ASU would receive the quote-unquote hometown discount and offer an NIL that substantially would be less than U of A, but I think ASU is definitely prepared for the hefty NIL price tag that is going to come with finding Koa Pete. But I agree, Joe. I think that ASU is more or less really in the driver's seat here. Again, you never know, what can happen down the road. And speculation is that he's not going to make a decision before the McDonald's All-American game, which is going to take place on April 1st. But for everything I'm hearing, Koa Pete ending up in Tempe should not shock anybody, and I think would probably put Bobby Hurley staying in Tempe in a whole different light, especially if he can retain the nucleus of players that I did talk about. That's going to be one major piece to the puzzle that maybe can help ASU do better, if not much better than they did this past season. But Koa Pete or not, Joe, I think the transfer portal and how well ASU does in that arena is really going to dictate a lot in terms of the fortunes of the Sun Devils this coming season.
And my next question you've already touched on, so it's kind of more of a confirmation than a question at this point. But that young nucleus that you mentioned with Sanan and Quaintance, seems like you feel more confident than not that they'll both be around next year. Is that kind of the feeling right now?
Yeah, I just think with their NIL price tag, with the landscape of college basketball where there's no more super seniors and you just have more teams experiencing that high turnover of 7, 8, 9 players, no matter how deep your NIL pockets are, you're just going to be very, very careful on who and how you're going to spend your money on. So you got Quaintance that does have a serious knee injury, somebody that may or may not be ready when the season tips off in November. You have a guy like Sanan, skillful shooter, but his Big 12 performance definitely paled in comparison to his non-conference performance. So will a team out there eclipse a very high NIL price tag for Sanan and poach him from ASU? I just feel that both players not being in Tempe this next season is an unlikely scenario. And look, I know it's college sports. You never say never. But ultimately, you do have to, play the odds over here. And I think that Bobby Hurley, and he definitely conveyed that to athletic director Graham Rossini, feels confident that both Sanan and Quaintance are going to be with the team next season. In the case of Quaintance, it's obviously very unfortunate circumstances, but nonetheless circumstances that does help ASU's case to have him stay in Tempe. If I had to guess, Joe, I think that Sanan might be the bigger risk to leave ASU compared to Jaden Quaintance. And you mentioned Koa Pete, by the way. I know that him and Quaintance are pretty close. Jaden Quaintance has been to some of Koa Pete's games at locally here at Gilbert Perry. So that's something that I really kind of helps both sides over here. Quaintance staying at ASU and Koa Pete ending up being a Sun Devil. Again, that's the likely scenario as it stands today on March 18th.
All right. So ultimately, a lot of ASU fans have just kind of had some frustrations in the direction of the program last couple of years. What reasons are there right now? Do you think, you mentioned the nucleus that's potentially coming back, but, what are some of the other reasons that you feel that that next year could be different and the trend line can start going up?
Well, as the saying goes, Brad, the best thing about a freshman is that they become a sophomore. And I think for Santa and even a guy like Amir Ali, who, definitely ended the season on a much stronger note than he started, you just hope that that growth, that development is going to take place in the offseason and help him, be better players. I mean, we obviously saw, Jaden Quaintance more or less be consistent until the injury did sideline him. So I think there's definitely reason for optimism. I think Sean Phillips, who is going to start if Quaintance is not going to be ready for the season opener in 25-26, definitely made some major strides in recent games. Austin Nunes is a forgotten man just because his Achilles injury took place so early in the season. I think just 3 games in. He's somebody that can easily be one of the best bench players for ASU this upcoming season. So there definitely are some signs of optimism over here. And again, not to belabor the point over here, but it's just retaining the nucleus. If ASU can do that, I think that's really the biggest reason for optimism, biggest reason that gives ASU a fighting chance, maybe even a good chance, having a better season. But just to go back to my earlier point, Brad, I really think the transfer portal is definitely an arena that ASU is going to have to make a big splash. I don't think they did necessarily poorly or very poorly this past season. I mean, a guy like Bridger Freeman, on the one hand, a very talented player, but character-wise, it's definitely not what ASU needed or wanted. Bashir Jihad, did have his ups and downs, but not a bad addition, I would say. Austin Mason, to me, was a team MVP. I was absolutely impressed with his consistency. Somebody who by far had the most minutes of any Big 12 players, right around 38, 39 minutes on average. So I think Bobby Hurley can recruit well from the portal. Let's face it, it wasn't like he was this season recruiting after a great campaign or anything like that, and still was able to land talented players. So I think the portal, whether you have a good nucleus, whether Koa Pete is going to be a Sun Devil, the portal is really going to dictate how much better of a ASU team we're going to see this coming season.
So even if ASU is able to maintain that nucleus, how do you think that Sun Devil athletics, like from a PR standpoint, can sell Sun Devil basketball to the fan base? It's kind of like I think a lot of fans are in that like fool me once, fool me twice type of mode. So how do they do that, and how big of a piece of that puzzle would getting Koa Pete be toward trying to get some goodwill publicly with the Sun Devil fan base, who's just kind of fed up right now?
Yeah, I mean, Koa Pete is on paper a one and done, and if you want to see one of the best local players that we've seen in a while, and definitely the best local player that ASU landed in decades, then even though you may not be a big fan of Bobby Hurley and you're very dismayed at what happened this season and don't have a lot of confidence for the next coming season, yeah, sure. I think a guy like Koa Pete can cause you, if not to renew your season tickets, at least to make it to DFA for more than just a handful of games. So I think that does help. As we know, Graham Rossini did announce several weeks ago that he expects sometime in the next month or so to reveal the plans for the renovation of Desert Financial Arena. Those renovations, I don't anticipate them taking place before the 25-26 season tips off. But, let's say Bobby Hurley stays there for one more year and then he parts ways with the Sun Devils. So now you have this really true new chapter, new page in the program history. You have major renovations taking place at DFA and also having a new head coach. So maybe, that's the excitement that can, really energize the base that maybe is not really happy with the way the program is going right now. But I do agree, Joe, that someone like Koa Pete can definitely change the perception of this program, get local fans to be excited about the Sun Devils. Obviously, a lot of basketball fans out there that got to see a lot of Koa Pete, whether in person or on TV, would love the proposition of him staying in Tempe and definitely come to DFA more often than not to watch him in action. So, that's something that on paper can help ASU. But again, I just think if 25-26 is going to be Bobby Hurley's last year at ASU, I think you'll see a rejuvenated fan base with a new coach, with major renovations to DFA, and for the ASU basketball program taking that step that hopefully a lot of fans have been yearning for quite a while.
Of course, looking ahead now over the next few months, what are the key things that Bobby Hurley must do over this offseason to get things back on track?
Well, look, I mean, if he is able to land Koa Pete, is able to retain Jaden Quaidens and Sean Phillips and Amir Ali, besides Jason Sandin and Austin Nunez, I really don't have a whole lot going on there in the backcourt. So I would expect the transfer portal additions to be heavy in the backcourt, not only getting a point guard, but also getting combo guard, also getting a pure shooting guard like Sandin. You definitely want players that are going to have better character than some of the players that Bobby Hurley did land here at ASU. You definitely want players that are committed, to playing a different defense at a high level, because I think at times it definitely was missing from the season. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with the roster of his assistant coaches, because I would be surprised if all three assistant coaches did come back for the 25-26 season. I think that ASU, at a minimum, does need a defensive coordinator, so to speak, on the bench. But, more importantly, just really have an assistant coach that can stand up to Bobby Hurley. And I'm not here to suggest that everything that Bobby Hurley does tactically is an absolute disaster. No coaches like that. But I just feel that to have a veteran assistant coach that Bobby Hurley could definitely bounce ideas off, and that assistant coach can definitely have effective input that is going to be eventually implemented. I think that's something that is definitely needed. I mean, sure, you need a good recruiter on the bench, and I think a guy like Jerence Howard definitely fits the bill. He's the one that was mostly responsible for landing Quaidens and Sandin. But just really having a good tactician on the bench as an assistant coach, somebody who can really help with player development and, again, be a much more integral part of the philosophy and approach that Bobby Hurley does want to implement. I think that's very important. We remember assistant coaches from recent years like Jermaine Kimbrough, who was definitely instrumental in the high level of defense that ASU played when they won 23 games a couple of seasons ago. Rashawn Bruno, obviously, was part of the Guard U era, part of some of the teams that made it to the NCAA tournament. Really just bringing a caliber assistant coach like that on the bench, I think can really do wonders for Bobby Hurley and really make the retention of a strong nucleus and hopefully a strong transfer portal class really matter, because now you just have a better X's and O's assistant coach on the bench.
So this upcoming 2025-26 season, it's a really unique circumstance. And I've kind of been thinking about this because I can't really think of like a major sport for ASU in the time that I've been following Sun Devil athletics where it was known going into the season that it's basically do or die for this coach. We've had a lot of circumstances where over the course of a season, whether it's football and men's basketball, that's like, okay, it makes sense. The writing's on the wall that a change is going to be made. But I can't really think of a time, whether it's football, basketball, that you go into a season knowing this is it. You got to get it done or you're probably going to be gone. So with that in mind, what's the bar that he needs to clear in order to stick around for ASU for the long haul? And if you had to give a prediction, 1 year from today, are we going to be talking about Bobby Hurley and the Devils in the NCAA tournament, or are we going to be talking about who's going to be the new head coach?
Look, I mean, I think if ASU doesn't make it to the NCAA tournament, this is going to be Bobby Hurley's last year. And that might be the most banal answer out there, but nonetheless, I just feel that that's really the proposition that does lie at the feet of Bobby Hurley. I think Bobby Hurley knows that having a third losing season in a row at a power conference program is definitely going to kill any chances or any aspirations even of coaching at the same level after the 25-26 season. So I think Bobby Hurley is somebody who definitely feels the pressure. And look, we know Bobby Hurley is a fighter. We know Bobby Hurley is a very emotional guy, and doesn't take a whole lot to motivate him. So, whether, going back to your contract question, Joe, whether he's a classic lame duck coach or just really somebody that's getting an extension of 1 or 2 years with such a minimal buyout that you're kind of like a quasi lame duck coach, Bobby Hurley definitely wants to erase the memories this current season and the season before that, and just show that it was really nothing than a bad fluke, that he was able to implement the fixes that were needed, whether those fixes came organically or basically just a list that Graham Rossini gave him in terms of what needs to be achieved for this upcoming season. I think Bobby Hurley definitely feels the pressure. He definitely wants to redeem himself, and I think that that motivation can help him really not repeat a lot of mistakes that did take place in this current season. Definitely do a better job in sending the roster both from a quantity and a quality standpoint. So, whether he does it or not is really anybody's guess. But, I just think that the easy answer over here, I don't think Graham Rossini would, really settle for a team that was on the bubble and ultimately missed it by this much on Selection Sunday. I think he is going to expect Bobby Hurley to make a case for himself to stay at ASU if he did make the tournament. Yes, even if it's just the quote-unquote play-in game in Dayton. So I think that's really the bar. Again, maybe a too obvious bar, but nonetheless, I really can't think of any other feat that Bobby Hurley would achieve that would be less than NCAA tournament appearance that would help his chances to stay at ASU in the long run.
And once his roster materializes and we see what goes on in recruiting the transfer portal, then we'll really bug you about giving a prediction for how you see things playing out. But far too early for that, because we don't even know what a quarter of the team's going to look like at this particular point.
Exactly.
Well, Hod, my man, this appearance 106 in the books. We appreciate you. Things are going to really ramp up, so we'll let you. If you have any, things that you like to add in there for those potential customers, those few people who might not yet be a Devil's Digest subscriber, because although we're talking all basketball right here tonight, a lot of football coverage coming up in addition to the baseball coverage. So what can folks expect out of Devil's Digest here in the upcoming month or so?
Yeah, basically, covering spring practice with extensive resources like we've done each and every year. That starts on Tuesday the 25th. Very extensive, practice reports, interviews, both written and video, with coaches, with players. Several different features. Basketball, like you said, there's going to be a lot of talk about the roster construction and the Crown Tournament. Obviously, being in the middle of that, hockey coverage still going strong, baseball coverage still being extensive as well. So definitely there's a lot going on right now at Devil's Digest and in the huddle. So we'd definitely love to have you be part of our Sun Devil fan community and join us over there as a premium subscriber.
There you go. Yeah, this is one of those times of year where there's a lot going on and a lot of important stuff. You want to be in the know when it comes to that roster development, coaches, things like that. No better source than devilsdigest.com. So we encourage y'all to become subscribers there. And Hod, thank you again. And I'm sure it won't be too terribly long until we get you in for number 107.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you at spring practice.
All right, great stuff from Hod there. But before we close things out, here's a conversation with a couple of ASU offensive linemen, starting with Jalen Klemm, talking about his return from a medical redshirt year and what he can bring to this offensive line.
Yeah, and so obviously, missing last year, what are some of the lessons you maybe learned just having to go overcome that adversity and not being able to be out there with your guys contributing?
Just being grateful for every day, man. I think that sometimes you kind of, being an athlete, you kind of take some things for granted, like things just like eating with the boys at lunch and being in the locker room around the guys. So that was one thing that I took, just taking every day, being extremely grateful to, be around the guys, be able to play the sport that I love. So, so that's the main thing that I took away from it.
What kind of support did you get from your teammates, coaches, support staff around here, and as you made your way back?
Great support. I mean, when when everything first happened, Coach T, Coach Dillingham, Butters, Jerry were all in the hospital within an hour of me getting there. So, I think that, when you look around the country, a lot of teams kind of preach, family and we're going to take care of your kids. I think that, sometimes that might not be true, but this is a place where, it is a real family, man. And, I know Coach T, his kids were making me cookies and stuff like that. And, I felt, I had a ton of support from everybody, man. And, I really appreciate that for sure. It made it, a lot easier.
What exactly happened?
I just was dealing with a medical issue. I'm not going to get, super specific on it, but, I'm excited to be back.
Did that pop up, and I recall that popped up really early.
It was a week before fall camp, so.
And expectations were for you to kind of come in and compete for a starting job. So
right.
How did you kind of keep your morale up while you were dealing with that?
Just taking it day by day. Obviously it was going to be a process getting back, but just taking it one step at a time and trusting in the doctors and the trainers that I was working with, that they were going to get me back to form, and I was able to hop right into winter workouts with everybody. So it's been good.
How good has it been just to get back in the flow of things and be working out with your guys and kind of that camaraderie that you might miss out on?
It's been great. I missed it for sure. I was kind of itching to get back around everybody, get back in the weight room, on the field with everybody. So I'm excited to be back, excited to get back on the field with the boys this spring for sure.
How much have you talked about, and/or are you willing to talk about kind of exactly what happened and what you went through?
I'm not going to get super specific on it. It was kind of just a medical issue. I was saying before, it happened a week before a week before fall camp. But I'm excited to be back. I'm grateful I can continue to play, and I'm ready to get back in for sure.
Do you feel out of shape? I mean, have you gotten to the point where you've been able to work yourself back to the physical level that you need to be at?
I feel like I got back in shape pretty quick. I was able to start lifting and running in October, and so I was just in the bubble every day at practice, working out with the strength staff, and I thought that I was able to kind of get my wind back pretty quick, and like I said, I was able to hop right into winter workouts with everybody. So the adjustment wasn't too crazy because I had been lifting and running for a couple months since then, but feeling really good right now. So
when you go through something like that, and you don't know what you're going to be able to do in the future with football or whatever, how does that then evolve your perspective about the opportunity to play the game?
It just makes you that much more grateful for the opportunity. I think sometimes it's easy to take what you have for granted, especially just having played football for so long. And I talked about it a little bit with some of my teammates. Everybody always talks about how you can lose everything just like that, and you kind of think it's a cliche until it happens to you. And so it kind of just changes your perspective on things, where you come in and you got a hard workout and you're not feeling too good and you're complaining. It's kind of like, man, at least I get to be here type thing. And so that was one lesson that I really learned from kind of the adversity that I went through. But I'm excited about that.
Is that something that can help you, not just in football, but for the rest of your life?
100%. Just motivation, whether it's just football or obviously life after football, just being grateful for every opportunity that you have.
So what are the key things for you to kind of get to the opportunity that you want, which is obviously starting?
Yeah.
What do you have to do?
Just taking it day by day. I think that it's going to be a process, just building confidence back. I haven't played football in a year, so just taking it day by day, just picking one thing each day. Okay, I'm going to focus on my hands today. I'm going to focus on drive in the run game today. Just one thing at a time, building the confidence back, and that's what spring ball is for, to try new things and to build confidence as you get into the summer and then into the season.
Did you lose any weight the year that you sat out? How much weight did you lose?
I lost 20 pounds when I was in the hospital, so I got up to the exact weight that I wanted to be. I wanted to be 295 for the season, and then I got down to about 275, 270. But I'm back up to 285, which is exactly where I was last spring. So I'm not too worried about it. I think that I'll be fine getting back to my playing weight for this year. So.
Purely from a football standpoint, what are the things that you have to improve upon to become the best version of yourself?
I think just strength is the biggest thing. That's kind of been the biggest thing for me throughout my career, outside of gaining weight. But getting stronger and having confidence in my anchor and stuff like that, I think is the biggest thing, and that'll come with time. But I feel like I was able to get my strength back pretty quick, and I beat my power clean record the other day when we maxed out. So I was excited about that. So definitely getting stronger, and some exercises stronger than I was before. So definitely excited.
You have an advantage with your dad being an NFL line coach. like how much do you actually talk to him or work with him about the game?
I pick his brain sometimes about certain techniques or some plays like how he would block it up and techniques that he would use. Just to Coach T always talks about our toolbox and having a bunch of different techniques that you can use. And so I kind of take some of the techniques that I learned from my dad and the techniques that I've learned from Coach T and kind of use them for different situations and things like that. But we don't talk. We try not to talk about football too much.
Who was it that kept your spirits up the most during the tough times?
Everybody, man. Like I think that as soon as I was able to get back around the team, kind of everybody was hyping me up. Like the day that I came back out on the field, the whole team came and was dapping me up. So that felt really good. But being able to just get back around the team, back around my friends, that kind of helped pick my spirits up for sure.
Guys like Ben Coleman or X, maybe you can provide some insight into just coming back to football after lengthy absence.
Excuse me?
Did guys like Ben Coleman or Xavier Alford maybe have some insight to share to you about coming back into football after missing a significant portion of time?
No, it's just keeping your head up. Taking it one day at a time was kind of the message that I was getting from everybody. Obviously it sucks to go through an injury like that, but like I said, being back around the guys kind of helped a lot for sure.
Will you be full go at the outset of spring ball?
Yes, sir. Yep.
How's that feel?
I'm really excited. I'm itching to get back, back in the pads, back out on the field. I'm really excited for sure. I've been counting down the days.
Did you ever think I might not play again?
Not for a second. Not for me. I know that there were some people that obviously it's something that kind of it was foreign territory for a lot of people. Nobody had really kind of experienced something like that, and nobody was really sure what to expect. And I could tell, but I don't think I really understood the magnitude of it until I was kind of further down the line. And so, there wasn't a second where I didn't think that, I was going to play football. I think that, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So,
when you transferred from here, ultimately, what was it about Arizona State that made that?
Just the family environment. I know, Coach Dillingham had recruited me in high school, so I had already kind of had a relationship with him. And then, him and Coach T were the first people to call me, when I got in the portal. And this was the first visit that I took. And I just love the environment. I love being, in Arizona, the weather. There's obviously a ton of, NFL training facilities, like being able to go to AMDG, opportunities like that. So, it's kind of a no-brainer for me.
When you mentioned a family environment, a lot of people preach family, but when you go through something like that and you get the support you do, does that just kind of solidify, what they're practicing, what they preach?
It does for sure. I mean, you hear, stories about, things that have happened around the country and, not being a family environment and not having the support like that. But, that was one thing that I was super appreciative of, when I was going through, the adversity that I faced. I had so much support from the coaching staff, from the trainers, from my teammates. And, I know that I really appreciated my family did as well. So.
When you look at this O-line room now heading into this 2025 season, what are some things that kind of jump out to you? It seems like, 4 starters back is a good building block with some intriguing youngsters.
Yeah, like you said, having 4 starters back, it's a ton of experience. And outside of that, we have a pretty young room, but I think that having that experience in the room, for another year is going to be, really good for the young guys to be able to, watch and learn how it's supposed to be done and kind of, have the older guys coach them up and teach them different things. That was one thing that, I really appreciated throughout my career, having older guys that really took me under their wing. And so, that's one thing that I've tried to do. And I know, Ben and some of the older guys have really tried to do is take some, one of the young guys under their wing and kind of teach them everything, because, it's our responsibility to do that. Obviously the coaches are, going to teach techniques and the plays and things like that. But, we're the ones that are spending the most time with each other. So I think that, it's really important to, take up that responsibility and, coach up the young guys as much as you can, pass on that knowledge that you've learned. So.
First few weeks as a Sun Devil in this program, what's it been like for you?
Oh, it's been amazing. The weather, just the people out here, Coach Dilly, Coach Saga have been amazing. Everybody's been welcoming, and it just felt like a family away from family.
Why was Arizona State the right place for you?
It just felt comfortable. The left tackle, we've been playing together since high school, so it just felt like it was just the right move. So,
What were some of the things that, during that recruiting process that maybe Josh told you about, his experience for his year as a Sun Devil?
Yeah, he just really told me, you get Coach Hard, Coach T, that he really puts pride in making sure he works on the little things and making sure the whole line is together and plays a one snap, one that's beat, one snap brotherhood. And I really took along with that and we loved that. So.
What are some of the things that really kind of jump out to you about Coach Tuatele and what he's been able to do in developing ASU's offensive line?
Really, just how tough he is. Even when you're good, you're bad. So I really love that part. So he never makes you feel like you're too good, never makes you feel like you're too bad. He just wants to improve you, get you to that next level. That was my biggest thing.
What was it like going up against Arizona State last year?
It was great. See, I was sidelined, so I was redshirted. So it was great, though. It was great competition. So, man.
Is there anything you noticed just watching those teams go at it?
Just how much fight, because Texas Tech came out with that lead, but Arizona State came back and finished. I could tell just being here, you could see how why it happened during the year, just coming back, never out the game when you think you're out the game. So yeah.
We've heard a lot about a family atmosphere within Coach Saga's room.
Yeah.
How does he go about instilling that in everyone?
He just first day I got to know everybody's name, their hometown, their high school. You have to know that. So off the bat, you have to know that. So you just get closer naturally, even if you don't speak. You have to speak and know people. So he really instills that on us, and I feel like we spend so much time together. It's you have to naturally know everybody and be close to everybody.
How big is that with how important it is to be connected on the line? How big is that just knowing that you got the guy next to you?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you got to be close, because if you're trying to twist off a game, you want to make sure that your tackle is going to have your back and you got your tackles back, or vice versa with the center. So, yeah, it's just you have to be close. Get the calls right, get the fronts right. So, yeah.
As far as your position with this group, how do you think that you're going to end up looking this spring and into fall camp?
So I'm going to be playing left guard. That's going to be primarily my position right now. But Coach T told me I'll work in with other positions, but yeah, primarily left guard.
How do you feel about guard versus tackle?
Well, it's great. I came to college, started for my freshman year playing guard. So yeah, it's a physical position, so love it.
And you have Saga said you have the longest wingspan.
Yeah.
On the team,
yeah, I just got a pretty long wingspan. Was gifted with that.
Yeah. How does that help as an offensive lineman?
Oh, obviously, once you get off the ball, and pass pro is great. Get the first punch off. They can't do much about that. Run, you can get that extension off. There's a lot of great things you can get with arm length.
So you were banged up last year? You were hurt last season?
Yeah, I had an injury. I tore my Achilles back in February of last year. So yeah.
So what was it like coming back from that?
Actually, it was pretty good. My surgeon, he was pretty crumb. He was pretty good. Really good guy. We rehab really good. So yeah, recovery process probably maybe took 5 or 6 months.
Did you feel like you were back to 100% by the end of last season? Or?
Yeah, I was good by a couple games into the season, but I ultimately decided to redshirt. So
Ben Coleman also had an Achilles.
Yeah.
Can you guys talk about that?
And he actually happened in the same month, the year before that. So it was it was one thing. It was relatable. It was and it actually brought us together closer. So
yeah.
Having to step away from the game, what was that like, and did that kind of give you a new perspective?
Oh, it was hard. So I've been starting since my sophomore year of high school. So it was you just have to sit back and just watch everything. It just really showed me how much I love the game and how much everything meant to me, and what how much time I put into the game. So yeah, it definitely hurt. But at the same time, it was that time where I needed to find myself and see who I am as a person, as a football player.
What was the hardest part of the rehab process?
Sometimes you just gotta be alone. Sometimes I'll just be in the training room by myself working, thoughts in your head, but that's probably the hardest part. Nothing physically, more so mentally.
Being that you played against the ASU last year, what was your thoughts after playing against them?
Oh yeah, it was too much thoughts. I thought we should have beat them when we was at Texas State, but that doesn't matter. Yes. Yeah.
Looking forward to week 3 this year when the Bobcats come to town?
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to week 3. Definitely got to run that back.
What are your strengths as a player?
I would definitely say my agility. I got pretty quick feet, and obviously my arm length. That's a great plus. And I play very physical, and I'm very sound in my pass pro.
Where do you feel like you still have the most room to develop?
Probably my run game. I feel like I developed very quickly in college in my pass pro, so run game is where I feel like that's where I need to push my top end at.
How does it feel when those 4 returning offensive line starters, you might be able to plug in as the 5th for an offense and a team that accomplished so much last season.
That was also one of my deciding factors for coming here. You know, it's a complete offensive line. It just needs one to plug in, and it was just like everybody's connected. Everybody has playing time. It's no guys who hasn't seen anything before. Everybody's seen something before, so you're just going into a situation where it's ultimately beautiful. So,
what about the culture here, like the offensive leadership returning?
Oh yes, especially in the O-line room. I mean, 1SB, they take that very seriously. The culture is very ingrained into the system, and I picked up on the culture very quickly, and it's one of the best I've been around. So,
what other schools were you considering?
It was really here or Arizona, and then Oklahoma State, but really here in Arizona.
Did you visit any of those?
I just visit Arizona.
And then you visit here too? And no question in your mind?
Yeah, definitely. The city's beautiful, the people's beautiful, the city's beautiful. You can't go wrong.
What's your thoughts on Sam?
Oh, Sam? Yeah, Sam. So, like, he's going to make that play. He's going to get out the pocket and throw the ball wonderful. You know, JT's going to do what he's got to do. So, yeah, I'm excited to be part of that.
Is that one of the deciding factors that helped you get here?
Oh yeah, just definitely. All the returners, like, you can't beat that. Like, that's very hard to get that many group of people who's played great football for weeks on weeks back together, only losing like maybe 4 people in total, starters. So that's amazing. So
did that say something to you too? That even players that are backups wanted to come back?
Yeah,
did
definitely.
That kind of speak to you?
Especially like in the day of NIL, like where you can go out, tools are getting such and such and whatever. And everybody wanted to stay and be part of this. It's wonderful.
What do you hope to show this coaching staff over the 15 spring practices?
I just want to show that I'm a consistent player and I do my job very well, and that I'll add value to the team.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Speak of the Devils. We'd like to thank a lengthy guest list, including Hod Rabino, Marcus Arroyo, Malik McClain, Jimeto Obigbo, Jalen Klemm, and Kyndrich Breedlove. Whew, a lot of good stuff there. All right, so Joe and I will be back in your feeds each and every week as spring ball is now in full swing. Make sure you stay with the show on the social media side of things. You can follow the show on Twitter at SOTD Podcast. You can subscribe on YouTube at Speak of the Devils. On Instagram, give us a follow at Speak of the Devils. Follow us on Facebook and give me a follow on all things social at BDenny29.
And you can follow me at Joe Healy42. A huge shout out, of course, to our incredible sponsors such as Cactus Sports, where you can get yourself this year Big 12 champions coffee mug. You can put any beverage in and drink it and enjoy it, and it's even more enjoyable when you're drinking as a champion, which ASU of course is. You can get that and many more products at Cactus Sports. Also a huge thank you of course to Jones Auto Group, Burrito Express, devilsdigest.com. You heard all about it from Hod Rabino earlier in the show. Those are great friends at the Spaghetti Shack. Check them out at their store locations. They also have food trucks that are out and about, often on campus at ASU. So follow their social media for more. Also, a big thank you, as always, to Sun Devil Family Charities,
as well as Home Field Apparel. Even though ASU is not in March Madness, the good folks at the Good Brand did not forget to consider Arizona State. They dropped an amazing new 1975 inspired shooting shirt for ASU, and you can get that as well as dozens of other amazing ASU items, as well as a bunch of new March Madness gear for schools who had much better seasons on the hard court than basketball or than ASU. And you can also get 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com just using offer code SUN SUN24 at checkout at homefieldapparel.com. And once you're done supporting our amazing sponsors, make sure to drop us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice. And Joe and I will be back next week to talk about the first week of spring practice.